All right. Hello, everyone. This is Nancy, and today I'm going to be specifically talking about, have you ever noticed how people react negatively to your positive vibes? And why your personality triggers people and how to handle it. And for those of you who feel triggered when somebody's super happy or they're super bright and you've got a bushel of crankies coming up and you don't even know why. So I'm going to be talking about those energetic bits. But I do want to say that I am going to go through some of the psychological reasons that are being addressed here. And I'm also going to be adding the energetic reasons too, so that you know that you can run your energy, you can meditate, you can ground, you can shift your stuff to help you shift out of it. All right. So I'm going to make an additional note. So my regular camera setup, video setup crashed. And so I am back to my old standard cell phone video. And so hope that you all can hear me well, and we'll get my other video system set up and working well, hopefully very, very soon. So, all right. So I've got my notes here, and let me address those. So current science and psychology offer several insights into why some people get really triggered and react negatively to positive or high vibe individuals. These reactions can stem from various psychological, emotional, and social factors. But ultimately, it comes down to the frequency and the vibration of that expression. So here are some key reasons. So the first one is called cognitive dissonance. So when someone's radiating positivity and their energy is quite high and quite illuminated, it can create a sense of discomfort for someone else who might be struggling, that they're feeling kind of low, they're feeling depressed, they're having anxiety, and they find your upliftment kind of going against the grain, going against the flow of your own vibe. And it's actually trying, there's this sense of it trying to rise, but you have all this stuff that you're not feeling very good about yourself. So cognitive dissonance occurs when there's a discrepancy between the person's beliefs or emotions and their behavior. If someone's unhappy or dealing with unresolved issues, that bright energy of that positive person can trigger a sense of discomfort because it highlights their own emotional state, which might not be ready to confront change yet. And that, I would say, is the number one reason why you might get triggered, or you're noticing someone around you is getting triggered. So what it says about them, this could indicate that they're just not in a place where they're able or willing to address their own emotional struggles. They may feel exposed, inadequate when faced with someone else's positivity. Now, another number two big reason, I notice this a lot, it can be positive people exude confidence. There's this sense of expression and certainty, and this success and happiness. And for others who feel a little insecure or dissatisfied with their own lives, it can trigger envy, feelings of inadequacy, where psychologically they're socially comparing themselves to you. And so they can get irritated because it brings their stuff up. And if it's you that find yourself that you're getting irritated, the best way that you can help kind of shift that pretty quickly is leave the situation for a moment, let yourself step out of the energy, go ahead and get yourself well grounded, and just let yourself know that you are where you are, they are where they are, and that's okay. When someone's perceived as doing better emotionally and socially, it can lead to negative reactions, resentments, and irritations. And I've had those thoughts where it's like, oh, she's always acting like a goody two-shoes. I remember there was this one, I was in psychic school, It wasn't funny at the time, but I learned, right? I learned how it can impact things energetically. So there was this one student that had been there a long time, long before I got there. So she was always helping the teachers to file, and she was always helping to take notes. And, if they had a special meeting, she would sit in. So she was really availing herself to doing anything and everything to really position herself as a great little helper. I've done that before. I imagine you've done that before. But there was this sense or this feeling that I had, like she thinks she's a little goody two-shoes. So one day, I had never really thought that before. So one day she's walking along and she looks through the window at me. There was like a hallway with a window in it. And I'm sitting in this big room, and she looks at me, and I think, she thinks she's such a goody two-shoes. Well, the next thing you know, I have the dean of the school coming in and pulling me in the office. I got called into the principal's office. And she said, "You whacked her with energy." And I was like, "I did what?" So first of all, I'd never heard of the word whacked. You whacked her with energy. And it wasn't funny because I said, "Well, I don't even know what that means." And she's like, "Don't be silly with me." And it's like, well, seriously, I don't know what that means. The only thing I can tell you is that I had this thought that she thinks she's Miss Goody Two-Shoes, and I felt my eyes wiggle a little bit. And so is that what happens when you might throw energy at someone else? And she was like, "You're trying to be funny, and you're not funny." Oh my gosh. But truly, I was trying to learn. I didn't know that my thoughts were that powerful, that I could throw energy like that. So I do like to share that little story because it really was significant, and I've remembered it for the rest of my life. So projection, this is another big one. So projection means it's a defense mechanism where individuals attribute their own feelings, thoughts, and desires to others. If someone's harboring negativity, frustration, even jealousy, they might project those feelings onto the other person who's radiating positivity. The more that someone has unresolved negative emotions or unprocessed trauma, they may see or react to perceived faults in others, even when they're not there, even when they are not true. And I will tell you, in this day and age of this current evolutionary process, people's stuff's coming up and they're projecting a lot. So as a intuitive and psychic teacher, one of the biggest things that I get targeted for energetically is when people will project their traumas, their issues, their hang-ups, their hatred for their mother. So if they have mother issues, then all of a sudden I become the mother figure to focus and project all of their mother stuff on. And so I have to call them on it, like pretty darn quick. I said, you're going to have to remember, I'm not your mom. It's like, work on your mom stuff. Don't project it on anybody else that may feel, or you'll have a sense, that they're your mother. And you probably have noticed this before. If you're like a mother figure, or even if you've never had your own children, you just have those mothering qualities. So, and the big thing is they're projecting things onto you, like, "You're jealous of me." And it's like, what? They're jealous of you. Or they'll say, "You think you're Miss Goody Two-Shoes." And it's like, there's a lot. In 30 years, I can share a lot of stories with you. So what it says is it suggests that the individual might be projecting their own unresolved emotions and discomfort with themselves onto other people. So their negative feelings are externalized onto the positive person, rather than being processed and addressed internally. So if you're noticing that you're struggling with someone in particular, you do want to internally process. You do want to sit and ground, run your energy, and help yourself, guide yourself in a mature way to start handling it. So feeling threatened or inadequate. So High vibe individuals can unintentionally remind others of their own perceived shortcomings, especially when it comes to personal growth, emotional well being, and success. People who are struggling may feel that their negative emotions or behaviors are being invalidated or judged when they encounter someone who's radiating positivity, leading them to react defensively or with hostility. So often, because I've been doing this work for 30 years, people will say, you don't understand, or you seem to be positive, you seem to have it together. And it's like, I worked really hard, and no, I don't have it together. But people can perceive and put those perceptions, and then they themselves feel inadequate. And I've gotten that a lot, from people. It's like, wow, well, you're successful. I can't be. And that's just not true. If you knew how many times I've had to eat beans and rice and could barely pay my light bill because I was being a healer for the divine, you wouldn't be so quick to say that. But you know what? I've learned it does not matter. When someone's feeling less than or inadequate, they can project. You don't know what it's like to have to struggle. All right. And this can be a sign of underlying fears of judgment and insecurities, and the individual might not feel empowered enough to embrace positive energy for themselves. All right, mirror neurons and emotional contagion, which means that this mirror neuron system in the brain helps the person resonate with the emotions of others. I can relate to how you're feeling. I know what it's like to feel jealous. I know what it's like to feel envious of someone where things seem to come easy for them and they don't come easy for me. This can create a sense of connection and warmth, but it can also cause discomfort. If someone's experiencing negative emotions, they may have a subconscious resistance to positive emotions around them, leading to frustration and irritation. And it just means that they have a lack of emotional regulation. So they're just not able to regulate their emotions and cope with certain feelings. They may not be ready to accept a positive mirror. They may not be ready to accept that, and instead react in a defensive and negative way. Now, to be honest, I will tell you, let me just look at that note. That happens quite a bit. And I remember asking someone, what comes up for you when you're around a positive person? Like, why does it bother you so much? And it's like, I don't trust positive people. They're not real. That's exactly what the person said. I don't trust them. They are not real. And so for me, I tend to kind of take that positive road, and hopefully it's authentic, but I imagine sometimes in the past it would have been much more shallow. But that's that belief system that you may have that gets you annoyed when somebody's it'll be fine, it'll be great. I mean, you should have seen me when my camera wasn't working and I've got 4 videos I need to make. And then I'm calling my brother, and then I'm putting up lights, and then I'm trying to find a short little tripod, and oh my gosh, I'm not sure about the sound. Was I being positive? I was making myself problem solve in an optimistic way. All right, because I don't like going down that rabbit hole of negativity. It takes too long to get out of it. All right, cultural conditioning. In some cultures, there's an emphasis on humility and self-restraint, and showing too much positivity or success can seem arrogant and boastful. In these contexts, someone with high energy vibe can trigger cultural or social conditioning that frowns upon too much positive emotion. And so what does this say about you or the person? It can reflect deep ingrained social cultural norms that value modesty over openness and exuberance. I was watching, I've traveled a lot, and in my travels, it is true. There's so many cultures. Like if you're smiling and you're like, hello, like we get teased in America when we travel because we're always bright and saying hello and how are you today, and very, very optimistic. And that's just, they just don't exchange, pleasantries like that. And I'm not saying all cultures, but most cultures are like, almost like it feels a little too exposed for them. So, all right. Now, your energy field plays an important role. So your auric field can be too intense for another person. So you're exuberant, you're happy, you're positive, you got a high frequency, and it can trigger them because their energy field feels the intensity, and their own energy field may not want to rise to that intensity. Your vibrational frequency gets triggered because your vibe cannot go that high without feeling stressed. So some people, again, they don't trust positivity. They tend to be on the very serious side. So sometimes even with some of you, I know it's even hard to smile. You have forgotten what it's like to have fun. And again, now I'm not talking about extreme positivity, extreme sweetness, like a piece of candy. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about just a general, natural, somebody's always good at problem solving, they're good at engaging. So some of you may have an old history in your family where you were taught to fly under the radar to feel safe. And then next thing you know, you're at work, you fly under the radar to feel safe with your boss because you're an adult now and you're working. And now this person comes in all bright and shiny, and it triggers, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. None of us are safe. It's like, put your head down, put your head down, put your head down. Don't get us in trouble. So it can trigger a lot of childhood things like that. So you want to make sure that you ground yourself and that you remind yourself of truly how old you are, and say, I'm safe here. I'm not going through this. They should be able to shine however they want to shine. They're not putting us in danger. Your confidence can trigger someone else's bully vibe. So again, a bully vibe is usually a learned behavior from family. It's like, what are you smiling about? I've heard that line before. I've heard that line from, someone who was supposed to be a parental safe space. Knock that smile off your face or I'll knock it off for you. Don't mean to trigger you, but I've heard those things. And so let's say you're a child that's heard that, and now all of a sudden you're an adult, and when someone starts to smile, it brings up all those old fears about if they don't stop smiling, that smile might need to be knocked off their face. And then what do? You throw energy at them. There's a lot of things about energy. So I've already talked to you about projection of the mother. Another thing is past lives. So let's pretend that past lives are real. I do believe that they're real, but if you don't, pretend. And in a past life, you meet someone and maybe you died at their hands, or maybe they were a really strict church that you grew up in and were always being negative to you or whatever. And so sometimes you don't have a good reason to not like them. It's just like, they bug me. They really bug me. They really irritate me. I don't like being around them, and I don't even know why. And often it's because you've come into this lifetime to be together again to help resolve some of those unsettled, out of balance issues. And often you become their boss this time, or you become the one that needs to add guidelines to whatever structure that needs to happen. And so it comes up in the past life to bring you both together again so that you can work things out. And I have to tell you, it's not funny, but when I discovered this, I was just like, no way. So often when you've had really, really big struggles with someone, in a past life, you end up marrying each other in this lifetime to work it out. So, all right, let's see here. What else? So I remember when I traveled a lot to teach, I would stay with a lot of different people. And they were always so excited, or they would invite, and I'd say, no, I'll stay in a hotel. The idea of having me stay with you, I love the idea, but it doesn't always work out very well for me. And they would always say, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. We're used to having all kinds of people come. But then the moment that I am staying with them, I remember once someone said, the idea of you staying here, it sounded like a great idea, but Nancy, you shift energy so constantly and so fast that I don't feel like I can really settle in my own home. And so that's happened. Or staying with families, traveling around the world, staying with different people. It's like the family ends up fighting. People will start drinking alcohol more. There would just be, they'd get irritated and stop speaking to me, and did not have any idea of why. And so when you have been doing a lot of personal work and you meditate quite a bit, you've got this pretty steady frequency. It doesn't go high, it doesn't go low, it's usually pretty neutral. But when that's held at that state, sometimes it's almost like someone's trying to reach or stretch themselves faster than what they're ready for. And so, yeah, sometimes people can get sick around you. They can get irritated, annoyed, or they're just like, I just can't be around you for long periods of time. And it's not funny at the time. I mean, it's happened to me enough now, but yeah. Yeah. Oh, and here's the last one I wanted to talk about. This is a biggie. And this is authority issues. This is really, really, really big. And for those of you who have authority issues, I promise you want to get a handle on it. Because when you have authority issues, that means anyone that you perceive as an authority. It could be the manager at the grocery store. It could be your boss at work. It could be you're going to dinner with this other couple and the woman's got a really strong personality, or the man's got a strong personality, and your authority issues get triggered because they feel like they're better than you, or whatever you're going to project, or you feel frightened because maybe you weren't safe around people of authority when you were growing up. And that's when you really throw energy. That's when you really can interject, like I call them, like lightning bolts come off, or I've literally seen them where they look like cannonballs. So I had this other story. I went to teach, and it was going to be 25 people in the class. I got super sick on the way to class, and I ended up with a really bad cold, bad sinus infection. It was really kind of strange. Anyway, so I slept and did pretty well, was ready for class, took a couple Tylenol. Well, there was a woman in the class right away. As soon as I walked in, she was glaring at me. I mean, with just hate-filled eyes. And I thought, what did I think? I'm misinterpreting this because she doesn't even know me. And then everybody else was very, very friendly. I would say by the lunch break, she was throwing so much energy at the group. I was literally, my clairvoyance was watching these black bowling ball bombs fly across the room. If somebody said, oh, thank you for that, Nancy, that grounding really helped me a lot. And then boom, she would throw energy at them. And somebody else would say something. Oh, Nancy, I appreciate that. That was a fun meditation. And boom, she'd hit him again. And after, at the lunch break, she was trying to convince everybody to leave the class. And so she and her bestie left, and they weren't coming back, and they slammed the door. There was no engaging conversation between us. And so anyway, I found out in the background, the backstory was after lunch, they all came back and they were like, wow, it feels so much better now. It feels like so much greater and lighter, and the sun's come out. And I'm like, well, there's only one difference that's happened if you know what that is. And then they just nodded and smiled. Well, it turned out she was their boss at work. And she was used to being the boss. And she didn't like somebody else being in that position. She didn't like somebody else appreciating me. And so, wow. And so then I realized looking back that even before I got there, the way she threw energy, I got super, super sick. So that can happen too. But let's go back to, have you ever noticed people reacting negatively to your positiveness? Hopefully that will give you some different additional ideas. And for those of you who find yourself triggered, I've been there before, where, whoever it is, it might be a spiritual teacher or might be somebody who dresses really nice. And, I might have thought in the past, why did they think they needed to wear that beautiful suit dress when we're going to be in jeans sitting on the grass? Like, who do they think they are? That was a long time ago, but it's natural, but we want to start turning it around. So in summary, ultimately, someone reacts negatively to a positive person. It often reflects something about their own emotional and psychological state, meaning it has nothing to do with you. It may indicate discomfort with their own circumstances, unresolved personal issues, envy, insecurity, difficulty processing their emotions. And instead of seeing the positivity as a threat, understanding the root cause of these reactions can help people address their own internal struggles and find more harmonious ways to exist with others. And here's the thing. Because I've been doing this work for a long time, I often find I can't make it better. No matter how much I'm like, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help? It's like, if I try to tone it down, there are often it just doesn't help. Because why? Because it's an inside job for them. And for those of you who find that maybe this is a familiar story for you or has been in the past, the quicker you can get grounded and close your eyes and go talk to your spirit, talk to the God of your heart, the Creator, ask for some relief, ask for some assistance, or just kind of go, walk away, say, hey, I need to leave early. Just to sit with yourself for a while. We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all been through this process. We've all projected. But as the vibration goes up on the planet and in humanity, you just might notice people getting triggered easier. But we'll get there. I believe we will. All right, everyone, take good care. Bye-bye.